is Lions on Tap, a weekly look inside the Lions Den. Highlights, interviews, and a look ahead to what's next for the Leos. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Bob the Moj Marjanovic.
Welcome to Lions on Tap on AM 730 in the Lions Audio Network. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions social media content team. We are coming to you tonight from the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro in Tsawwassen, BC. Just a gem of a place there. And a big thank you to our host, Shelley, and her staff. They got the coldest beer in town. That's what they're telling me right here at the Rose and Crown Pub. The best pub in Tsawwassen.
This is awesome, yeah.
They say they're the only one. It doesn't matter. That means they're the best. They love the Lions here. They show every game, by the way. And, of course, they always have live music on Saturdays. This week it's T-Town's own Iconics. And Bakes, I know you're going to be interested in this. Drag Bingo is happening Friday, October 20th at 8 p.m. Unfortunately, I think we have a game that night, but I know you might get down here for last call afterwards. So.
Yeah, next date night with the wife.
Yes.
Will come down here. Yes.
Well, let's get into it. A lot of stuff to get into. Of course, we will talk with our guest in a couple of seconds here, David Mackie, fullback of the BC Lions. But first off, I want to get your reaction to the disappointing loss to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Matthew, we'll start with you.
Oh, well, disappointing. That's one way to sum it up. Yeah, pick your poison. Wally Buono used to tell us all the time, right, Moj? 5 or 6 plays. Every game you look at 5 or 6 plays, and it could have gone differently, and there was definitely some of those. But I'll tell you what. We build that game all week as a heavyweight tilt. Clearly, the two teams that are the class of the West. We will see them again, right? Might have to be in their house. Mm-hmm. Might have to go back in there. But I'll tell you what, I know we're in the business of positives here, but they traded punches with that team for 4 quarters. Defense played outstanding. Offense came out firing. But it's just a matter of finishing, and we'll see them again.
Do you know, it's interesting because when you look at that Ottawa game, I remember talking to someone afterwards, and they said, 7 things had to go right for Ottawa to lose that game, right? For BC to win it. They all went right.
Yeah.
And conversely, I think you look at the Winnipeg game, it flip-flopped the other way, right? I mean, if Vernon Adams gets that first down where he reaches and they say he's short, if Dom Davis and the offense converts on that 3rd and short with, a minute 56 left to go in the game, what happens there? What happens if Dom Rhymes goes down instead of trying to score the touchdown? I mean, like I said, there's so many things. If there's no penalty
overtime
against
penalty,
Sirman Bagayogo, right, which allows that Winnipeg drive to continue.
Hold them to 3.
Which eventually turns into a Brady Oliveira touchdown on the very next play. So, a whole bunch of things just – the right time didn't go the right way for the Lions, and unfortunately they lose 34-26. So now you're looking at a home game either against Calgary, in all likelihood Saskatchewan, and then, of course, hopefully winning that and then traveling to Winnipeg. But, hey, you know what? Anything can happen in one game. We saw that earlier in the year when they knocked off the Bombers 30-6. Nick Kowalski, your thoughts on what you saw at BC Place Stadium against the Bombers in the 34-26 loss?
Well, I'll call the disappointing aspect of it, but yeah, like you guys said, they traded blows with the Bombers for majority of the game, and the Lions were in control of that game for majority of the game. And I think you look at the quarterback specifically, Vernon Adams starts off very hot, doesn't turn the ball over, and then with Collaros, he has 2 late turnovers that almost costed his team, right? So I think from the quarterback aspect, you got to love the way Vernon Adams Jr. played and battled the entire game. Like he left it all out there on that inches play. Like he gave it his all in that play, and obviously just an inch short by the ref's mind.
Veteran fullback David Mackie is our guest tonight here at the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro in Tsawwassen. David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Nice to have you.
Appreciate you guys bringing me in.
Are we kind of opening up a bad sore here for you?
It's okay. I got a beer to wash it down.
Coors Light. There you go.
It's still got a sting, I imagine, right? But, I mean, at the same time, you got to let it go and start focusing on the road ahead.
Yeah. It was good, and I think Coach Rick summarized it perfectly after the game. He's like, hey, take the day, right? And if you got something else to say tomorrow, then say it. And by the time Saturday came around and we were running around and we were meeting and stuff like that, just as the running backs, we got to debrief. And I think by Sunday I was over it, but then, my wife hadn't had a chance to debrief, so I got the full debrief from her, and she gave me her opinion on the game, which was equally as funny as your guys's. But we got in for meetings on Monday, and it was good.
What did you see in the film that perhaps you didn't see on the field?
the film doesn't show the whole game, right? Obviously, I just watched the offensive film, the special teams film. You don't watch the defensive film, but the effort was there. The energy was there. Like you said, we came out flying around, and we looked great in that first half. And I think we didn't execute well enough on offense in the third quarter to put our defense in a good position, and it ultimately just cost us in the fourth quarter.
Well, now you move on. You have the Hamilton Tiger Cats this week. They're coming off a big win against the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Regina. How do you approach these last two games? I imagine you have to focus on the process. That's the biggest thing, because forget about first place in terms of needing help and all that. I mean, you've got to kind of focus on that process so that when you get into the playoffs, you're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, that's all it is. I mean, we talk on the ride over here. It's like all that matters these next 2 weeks are being healthy. First of all, we know we got a home playoff game, regardless of who we're playing. And, if it was for first place, then great. But regardless, we're hosting a game in Vancouver, which is awesome. So being healthy for that game is critical, but it's just playing good football down the stretch. So, winning games is ultimately means you're playing, obviously, good football. But if, let's say, we fall short one of these next two games, but we're flying around and on offensively, I can't speak for the defensive guys, but if we're clicking and we're doing all the right things, then that's all that matters going into the playoffs.
I was talking to Josh Banks after practice today, and one of the things that kind of floated to him is that this team, for the most part, has handled adversity well. You look at the first loss to Winnipeg, come back, play a complete game against Calgary. First loss of the year in Toronto, come back, pretty much dominate against Montreal at home, I believe it was, before the bye. I mean, what does that say about how much this team has grown in the past couple of years, that, you meet adversity, you tackle it head on?
I think we just realized that one regular season game doesn't have to decide the outcome of the next one or the entire season, right? And, Moj and I have played a lot of golf. It's like just because you blow the first hole doesn't mean you're not going to shoot well in the next 17. So, we got 18 games and 18 holes in golf, so it's a pretty good metaphor for me. But
yeah, notice you said for you, not for me. Because if I'm going triple-double, I mean, that's the end of the day.
It might be it.
Yeah.
But, no, I think it's just we've grown so much as a team. We've got such a great veteran presence that losing one game, whether it's just a bad performance on our part, or if we just, we go out there and it's professional football, right? They make more plays than we do. And you said it best, being here when I was with Wally, it's 5 or 6 plays dictate the game, and that's not all that much if you look at the grand scheme of things. So we've got the veteran presence that we realize that it's a game of football. The other guys that we play against they get paid as well. So if we fall short, we just got to step up next time.
Before Nick gets here, I want to throw this one in. And I was talking about this with Vernon after the game. Unfortunately, I don't know if he took it the wrong way. But it's crazy when you think there's, 130 to 150 snaps in a game, right? Varying levels or whatever. And the fact that your entire perception of that body of work could be dependent on maybe 2 or 3 plays, right? Think about how crazy this is. I mean, you look at that game and everyone's kind of disappointed and they're saying, couldn't do this, we didn't do this, blah, 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 all of these things, right? Not to single out Dom Rhymes, but I'm using it because it's the most obvious example. If Dom falls down, you kick the field goal, all of a sudden that 130 and 140 plays that everybody's like down on right now, it just flips completely. The narrative changes, how you battled, how you found a way to win. And it's sometimes like, we talk about it, that entire body of work, the perception, the narrative is determined by 3 or 4 plays. It's crazy because in reality, you should look at the entire body of work. And I think that's what coaches do. They're saying, hey, there's a lot of good here. We did a lot of good things, but we also have to clean some things up.
I totally agree. And I think, at the tail end there, you summarize exactly what Rick says all the time, right? He's like, there was a lot of good football played. There's a lot of great guys in this room, a lot of great characters, and let alone the plays that we all made. But we all want to achieve excellence. We all want to do amazing things. And when we all went home that night, there's 3 or 4 plays that stick out in my head where I waited till 3 a.m. till the film to come up just to watch those 3 plays. I could care less about the other 40, 50 snaps. I was like, okay, yeah, did my job, okay, that one, shit. Right? It's like that's all that matters.
Try being a play-by-play guy. It's
exactly,
the same thing.
Right?
I mean, it's like, you go through all of it, and it's like, oh, man, did I blow that call?
It's crazy, and I just don't think, people understand the pressure that we put on. And within that play, it's only 2 seconds, 3 seconds, right? And it's like one decision can change the outcome of a game. But like you said, Rick always does a great job summarizing. He's so quick that he just says, guys, there was a lot of good football being played. We needed to make 1 or 2 more plays, and it didn't happen, and we fell short.
That's what makes me sick, just thinking about the what-ifs of all that games. But then, I mean, you look ahead, and the real dance starts next month, and you're grateful, being a part of that game was special too. There was a great crowd, great environment, and you guys put yourselves in the situation to get into that environment too. But looking ahead to Hamilton now, they got back in August. They had a pretty convincing win over the Lions. So what has to change this week to even the score with the Ticats?
We just got to go out there and execute, right? It's like obviously we anytime you play anyone in this league, you have to play a complete game, right? It's like these guys get paid too. It's professional football, so you have to go out there and execute and do your thing. But Hamilton's a good team. In the last 7 games, they're like 5-2. They're like the Hamilton world beaters right now. They beat us. They beat Winnipeg, and
back to 500.
That's right, and they've done a great job. They might secure a home playoff spot, right? Which is pretty cool for them. I got a lot of buddies that play for them, but that doesn't mean I like them. But we got to go out there and just play our game, and we've showed that if we put our best on film, it's hard to play with us. So we just got to go out there and do our thing. And like we said, all that matters the next 2 weeks is just playing good ball going into the playoffs.
We will have more with Lions fullback David Mackie on the other side. We'll talk to him what it was like growing up in Ontario, being born in Jackson's Point. We're going to talk at Jackson's Point. Apparently Jim Carrey lived there, according to Wikipedia. Again, we're coming to you from the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro in beautiful Tsawwassen, BC. If you're in the neighborhood, pop on by. They got the coldest beer in town. And yes, they've been voted the best pub in Tsawwassen for the last 32 years. That's just telling you right now. They're the only pub in Tsawwassen, so that means they got to be the best. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on AM 730 and the Lions Audio Network.
Now, back to Lions on Tap. Here again is Bob Marjanovic.
This is BC Lions on Tap on AM 730, the Lions Audio Network. It's the Moach, Bob Marjanovic, along with Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions social media team, as well as Lions fullback David Mackie. We are coming to you from the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro, 1203 56th Street in Tsawwassen, BC. Big thank you to our sponsor, Molson Coors Canada, as well as Shelley and the whole staff here at the Rose and Crown. I'll tell you what, come to the Rose and Crown just for the French onion soup. I'm just devouring some of that. It's so good.
Rose and Crown wrap is an awesome menu item too. And I've sampled a few wraps in my day, so
just a couple, right?
Just a couple.
A couple. David Mackie, Lions fullback, is our guest, 2018 first-round draft pick. You know, David, I go to your Wikipedia page, and I swear, were you in witness? Was your family in witness protection growing up? Because there's nothing there. Usually it's the high school you went to, this, that. All I can deduct is that you were born in Jackson's Point.
Yeah, I like to keep it pretty low key, but I got a pretty good family, and I got a great connection with them. Grew up in Jackson's Point. Actually born in Ajax, Ontario, closest hospital to Jackson's Point. Grew up in Jackson's Point. And
where is Jackson's Point exactly? It's not like metropolitan Toronto.
It is not.
Yeah.
It is on the east side of Lake Simcoe that no one goes to. So there's Barrie on the west side.
Okay.
There's Aurelia, and then there's the east side that if you want to go ice fishing, you go there, and that's where yours truly grew up. So it was a great place to grow up. It was a couple thousand people. It's grown a fair bit since then. I don't like it. I show up in their suburbs and all sorts of townhomes and stuff there, but that's just the old small town kid in me. But it was a great place to grow up. My family's awesome. I got an older sister, younger brother. Got a great relationship with them, and no one actually lives in Jackson Point. Everyone moved away. I got some buddies that are still there, and I love going back.
Well, apparently, in most of these places, you look at the high school, you go to notable alumni, whatever. There's nothing on Jackson's Point Wikipedia. It only says Jim Carrey resided in the village in the late 70s. Neil Young resided there for a brief period from the 40s or something. 2 guys lived there. Whoop-de-doo. You're probably the most famous person from Jackson's Point.
There's just rumors of, I think we locals made those up.
Oh, did
we're
you?
all right.
Okay.
David,
Jim Carrey seems pretty famous.
Yeah.
Let's just say that he lived here at some point. There's these local legends that are I heard he had a limo out in front of Kim's convenience store one time. And you just believe it for your whole life. That's just...
So, Jackson's Point, obviously I don't think they have a huge football program there. What did you do for football growing up? What sports did you play growing up?
So, growing up, played a little bit of everything. Didn't play football until I was 16. But, played house league soccer, baseball, whatever the elementary school had to offer. You played all the track and field events, stuff like that. Any hockey that I played, hockey was too damn expensive growing up. So, we just made a rink on the lake, and that's the hockey that we played. But when I was in the 8th grade, my parents saw this ad or excerpt in the local paper saying that there was going to be a school that was going to be open for athletes, and it was about an hour and a half away in Markham. So I said, was that something you'd be interested in? I said, well, yeah, we can figure it out. And we ended up applying and going. And my first year at Bill Carruthers Secondary School in Unionville, Ontario, there was 300 students. It's this ginormous building built for like 2,000 students. But the first year there was just 9th and 10th graders with 300 students. And I sat on a bus for 2 hours on the way there. And then I would practice or whatever I was playing, and then I would take public transit for 3 hours home. So it was
3 hours?
Yeah, it was a long day. So I'd leave around 5:30 a.m. and get home around 8 p.m. And then that's when I wasn't working. So I had some jobs through high school too to pay for my sports. So I got there the 9th grade. I played rugby, and that was my first time kind of playing a contact sport. And I said, okay, well, my old man played football, my grandpa played football, I want to play. So a bunch of us started this petition to see if we could get a football team in the 10th grade. Sure enough, they got a football team, and that's when it started.
Wow. 3 hours every day. Kowalski, I mean, if you lived in Winnipeg, you'd be going to Brandon every day to do your thing and coming back.
Flin Flon,
Saskatchewan, yeah.
So you go, you end up at Western.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to the Western Mustangs.
Go Stangs.
So your draft year, Combine, the Combine in 2018 would have been in Winnipeg, I think, that year.
That's right.
I remember being at that one. What do you remember about sitting down with Lions brass? I remember that was Ed Hervey's first draft. G-Roy would have been involved. McAvoy would have been there, of course. Anything you remember that sticks out from sitting down, perhaps, in the interview process?
I remember a lot. I remember right after I said, I think that interview went well. I went in, and I guess whether it was Wally or Ed or someone had reached out to Greg Marshall, my head coach at Western, and they said, tell me a little bit about Dave. I'm not sure if anyone listening knows. I'm not a big stat guy. Okay, I'm a big locker room guy. I do a lot for the team outside of stats. And, Greg basically alluded to that our final year we ended up going to win a national championship, and he was a big part of the culture in the locker room and whatnot. And because we lost 3 conference championships in a row, and so I said, hey, some things got to change in the locker room going into my last year. And I guess Greg Marshall alluded to that in his conversation with the Lions. So I went in, and I'm terrified to talk to Wally because I've only heard these stories. And Wally said, okay, well, we talked to Greg, and he said that, you helped change some things in the locker room. And I said, okay, yeah, I did a couple things. He said, okay, well, why don't you look Ed in the eyes and tell him what you would say if there was a problem in the locker room? I said, you want me to do this? I said, well, I don't know what to say. He said, just go ahead. Go. Tell Ed. And so I said, well, I'm not sure what's it. No, just what would you say? Yeah. So I'm like, holy shit, okay. And so I pull some shit on my ass, and I say it. And he's like, okay, very good. And so I'm sitting there like, I blew this. I blew it. And so I ended every interview, and I said, okay, well, if you don't draft me or going forward, is there anything that you would share for me to be a better football player, a better man, better person to come to the CFL? And G-Roy just said, no, we'll draft you. Thanks for coming. And I walked out, and I was like, I think that went okay.
That's good. That's a great story.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, though, because you obviously get it. And when you talk to players or been on successful teams, you realize that the leaders of the team get everybody else to buy in and make them feel just as important as, quote, the rock stars, right? And I'll never forget Mark Messier talking about the Oilers one time. He said, all those great players, they always, every time they went out, it was the entire team. It wasn't cliques. It wasn't this group. That. It was like everyone would go out. And different for football. You got so many bodies. But you guys, your position groups are all going out and doing things. And he said, you're never going to know when you need that whatever guy on your roster to make a big play. And he talked about Kevin McClellan scoring one of the biggest goals in Oiler history to get them, to their first Stanley Cup. So, it's like you never know when you might need a Patrice Rene or a Sirman Bagayago or a Jaquan Hardy or whoever, right?
Jack Hinsberger, big special
Jack
teams
Hinsberger, right? I mean, you never know
Yeah.
when one of those guys is going to be required to make a big play. And those guys, if you keep those guys on board and make them feel part of it and make them feel part of the group, well, then things happen. Right?
Yeah, I think and the way we've grown this locker room over the last couple of years has been excellent, right? And we just realized that anyone can contribute at any time, and we also want guys to stick around for a long time, even if they don't contribute this year. I got to give a shout out to Dylan St. Pierre, the other fullback that's there. He's been sitting on the practice roster all year, but I don't have a doubt in my mind he's going to keep coming back, and he wants to re-sign here because he just realizes how special this locker room is, and he knows that he's appreciated, and he's going to be part of something down the road.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, Nick Kowalski's world-famous trivia. You ever done it, or heard the trivia?
I'm going to get smoked.
Oh, no, dude, I'm telling you, from Tsawwassen to Toronto, they're waiting for this the entire week. It is coming up next. We'll wrap it up with David Mackie. Bake will tell us what we got on tap in terms of the Lions' next home game against Calgary as well. We're coming to you from the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro in beautiful Tsawwassen, BC. A big thank you, of course, to Shelley and the staff here, and, of course, Molson Coors Canada. You're listening to BC Lions on Tap on AM 730 in the Lions Audio Network.
Now, back to Lions on Tap. Here again is Bob Marjanovic.
This is BC Lions on Tap on AM 730 in the Lions Audio Network. Coming to you from the Rose and Crow Pub and Bistro in Tsawwassen, BC, 1203 56th Street. If you're in the neighborhood, pop on by. The best pub in Tsawwassen, the coldest beer in Tsawwassen. And they love the Lions here. They always show every single game, live music, drag bingo, karaoke on Saturdays, all of it happening at the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro. All right. David Mackie, you ready for Kowalski's trivia?
Nope.
Going to put you to the test here, bud.
This one dates back to 1981.
All right.
And the reason why is that's when quarterback sacks were first published individually.
Right in Moj's wheelhouse, 81.
And the reason we're talking about sacks is, I don't know if you guys have heard, but Matthew Betts is approaching a Canadian record for sacks. He's won away with 16 on the year. But Matthew Betts is one of 26 BC Lions to record double-digit sacks in a season. Can you guys name the other 25? We're just going to rattle off some names.
Cam Wake.
Cam Wake is one.
Brent Johnson.
Brent Johnson's two.
Rick Goltz, Nick Hebler.
James Quick Parker.
Hebler's done it. Parker, what's the first
Rick
name you said?
Klassen.
Rick Goltz, Rick Klassen, throw them in there.
Rick Goltz, I'm not seeing here.
Rick
Tyrone
Klassen.
Williams.
Williams. I do not see that name
You don't
either.
see Tyrone Williams. Okay.
You named Rick Klassen. That's a correct name.
Herman Smith.
That is a correct name.
Very good one, Herman Smith.
Sean Lemon.
Sean Lemon did do it. There you go, Mackie.
Boy, Mackie, way to contribute.
Solomon Elamimian.
Did not do
Did
it.
not do it.
Adam Bighill.
Adam Bighill got 9 1 year at the time, so he just missed out.
Just missed out. Big Ty Williams, Brent Johnson. How about linebackers?
Oh, Aaron Hunt.
Aaron Hunt did do it.
Nicely
Former
done.
rookie of the year.
2008.
How many more we got?
Did Odell get 10?
Odell got 11 in
There
2018.
you go.
Let's go.
See? Mackie's
Mackie's
up on his
good.
current
Attaboy,
trivia.
make a hit. You're
All right,
better
that's
than
all I played with.
Virgil Robertson.
Virgil Robinson's no, he's incorrect answer. It's close, though. I think you played with
Close.
some. No, you didn't
Ricky
play-
Foley.
Ricky Foley's correct. He got 12.
12. There you go.
You would have played with one more on this list. I believe
Mackie
so.
would have?
I believe so. He did it in 2016, but I think Mackie would
Alex
have.
Bazzi.
Correct.
Batman Bazzi.
We got somebody got 23 sacks in 1987.
1987.
Yeah, for the Lions.
You got it, Baker.
Sacks. And it wasn't Quick
He's a big
Parker.
brain.
This is Moj's wheelhouse
Oh,
here.
this give me initials. Run.
GS.
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 GS. Oh, my gosh.
Right in your wheelhouse, bud.
I know it's in my wheelhouse. It's 87. Things got blurry after 83.
What about 1993? Somebody got 20.
20. Dave Chaters.
Chaters is
Peterson.
correct, but O.J. Brigance is the answer. And the
O.J.
first one-
Brigance.
and Greg Stuman got 23 in
Greg
1987.
Stuman.
Chaters is on the list, though?
Who else
Yeah.
do you got?
Okay.
Angelo Snipes, Mike Gray, Johnny Scott, Walter Ballard. Those are all
Okay.
his names.
We
but
did pretty good.
yeah, that's pretty solid. I would say there's a lot of names.
Johnny Scott's one that I should have got. All right, Bakes.
Okay, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Tell your friends. Playoff tickets on sale. BCLions.com. Adult tickets are starting at $30. Youth 17 and under for $15. October 20th. Get your Halloween costume. You and Julio are dressing up. Blackout night as we wrap up the regular season. They're going to celebrate Halloween, fan appreciation, a lot of cool prizes.
That's
BCLions.com.
I'm going to show up as Julio. Julio's going to show up with me. And we're all
Scary.
good. All right,
Yeah.
there we go. David Mackie, thank you so much for stopping by. Big thank you to Shelley and the staff here at the Rose and Crown Pub and Bistro in Tsawwassen for having us. And again, our sponsor, Molson Coors Canada. Big thank you to everyone behind the scenes as well. Executive producer Mike Whittingham, Sydney, back at AM 730. You know what I'm going to tell you before we get out of here? Do what you got to do. Just do us a favor. Be safe.